Hey guys, it's Dave, and today we're going to do something I rarely do. I'm going to follow up on a promise I made in the last video. I often have good ideas of what I want to do moving forward and don't always follow through. But what I mentioned, if you didn't see the most recent video, which means the only one this summer, is show you the Hoya I bought from Crazy Plant Gal and a couple Discidia. What I did was hit her first sale and bought a little bit, and then Kathleen wanted to visit the next day, and I ended up with the most expensive Hoya I've ever purchased. Kathleen did not judge me. Thank you, sweetheart. And then I went and helped her go through every single Hoya, clean up what needed to be cleaned up, etc. and so forth. So I was paid in Hoya. So it's kind of a look at what someone would choose when they have that much to choose from. And some of them I'm going to work on, because while they're doing really well right now, there are a few that I'm concerned about going through to the winter in the tiny pots they're in, and we've got to do some trellising because, well, we'll just look at it. Stick with me. And by the way, this turned out to be the year of variegation for me because I bought a few anyway. Let's start with that one, and that is the intervariegated Polyneura. And I have a new tripod, and this is quite a reach, so hopefully it won't be too shaky. Now, I got a Polyneura, the green one, last year. Kim foisted one on me for free. I fought as best I could. I love that plant. Now, you know enough about me, maybe, although there are like 1,700 new subscribers since I stopped posting videos last spring. I'm not someone to get a Polyneura and then need all 3, 4, 5, 10 kinds. There are Carnosa. I've got to have all of this. I've got to have all the flower colors. I mean, I don't go down that rabbit hole. I'm happy to grow an example of a plant unless something is significantly different about one, and I think you can see that this one clearly is. This has really terrific variegation. I bought it, so here's the progress report. I bought it here. Now when I say summer, we were into summer. Kim's first sale, Crazy Plant Gal, was pretty late, just circumstances of life. She was just very, very busy. And so, yeah, to go from here, you know, in July-ish to here, I'm a little bit surprised given how variegated this is. And these are light leaves, but it is growing great. No complaints with this. What concerns me about this plant being in this little tiny, presumably shot glass cup, is that it's going to dry out very fast. It already dries out at a decent clip, I guess, but when the furnace comes on, this is going to dry out almost instantly, and that is not a good look for this plant. So I'm going to upgrade the pot. The question is, I don't often like to go to an intermediate step, like to go from one of these little cups to the next size up, plastic, those 3-inch plastic cups you've seen on my channel many, many times. I prefer to go from this size to a 4-inch, whatever I'm going to grow it in. I don't know how well rooted this one was when I bought it. Many of the ones I bought were very lightly rooted, and I don't mind doing that. I kind of gravitate towards those. They're often her freshest Hoya that she's got in. So she always warns me, and I always say that's fine with me. So we're going to take a look at these roots and see what we are looking at. I am well aware that many, many people have this plant and on their channel, but when I was watching one of Anna's videos, I was like, that's it. That thing is so stinking cute. It is just absolutely gorgeous. All right, I was just pulling the, the clover leaves out of here. This is growing in a little bit different mix than usual for her and definitely for me. She gave me a bag of it. I don't remember the name of it. I think it's sold at Home Depot, I believe. Anyway, you'll get a picture of it there. I asked her to text it to me. And she is hot on it, says it, you know, plants are rooting great into it. You know, I'm quite dedicated with what I use, but, you know, keep an open mind. she moves through plants so quickly. She's more likely to experiment than I am, because I have just, as you know, spent so much time narrowing it down to the 3 ingredients I use. That gets tedious for everyone that's a regular here, but it's just perlite, cocoa chip, cocoa coir. And that's in the Amazon link, and that's about all I'll talk about it, because that'll just bore everybody who's here all the time. Start out with a third of each of those ingredients and kind of adjust depending. We'll get to that when I actually am putting some stuff in a pot. This appears to be more granular. I added some fine bark in there and some really fine charcoal just so it wouldn't be so dense. So I don't know if that's peat or I don't know what it is, but it does dry out at a decent clip. If it is peat, and I don't know that it is, but it's black, so it makes me think it might be. I hate how hydrophobic that gets over time. You know, when you water the plant and the water just sits on top, even when you're a regular waterer like I am. So this is what we're dealing with. No surprise, lightly rooted. And what a good time for me to get on my hobby horse that I love. I am so tired of hearing people still say that Hoya won't grow until the roots fill the pot, until it's comfortable in the pot, until it's all cozy and tucked in its little blanket. Just stop. Just stop with that. Either you're not giving it the correct conditions for it to flourish. There are exceptions, always exceptions. I have them in my collection. But the vast majority of Hoya I have will grow immediately. And I have several examples you're going to see today, and I'll probably have to speed it up a little bit. Let me see what I'm going to put this in. All right, well, tempting as it was, I went with the 3-inch pot, or maybe these are like 2.5. I'm not really 100% positive. Substantially-ish larger than those little cups, so more substrate. I used the same mix as it was already in that Home Depot, if that's indeed where it's from, and I think this will be good. This will almost certainly be going in the tent. I'm just going to take out what little is in there right now, nuke it with hydrogen peroxide a few times, 10 times. I haven't seen a root mealy since, I don't know, this time last year, so I think we're good. But it's a good idea to do. It's spider mite season coming in here in the fall, and so not a bad idea. All right, I promise we'll speed it up. Next up is for all of us small leaf lovers. This is a Dischidia rucifolia. And what I did here was bought one very lightly rooted plant one day, and then the day I went back and worked, I think I got 2 more, but I'm not certain. And they might have even been in smaller cups than that, because no, I think they were in the same cup. So I went against all conventional wisdom, as per usual. I mean, you don't know if you don't try it, and I've tried it many times, and potted them up in this substantially larger pot. And as you can see, this is looking just fantastic. This is a really pretty plant. Obviously, this is the variegated version, except for one kind of attitudinal strand right there, but a very pretty plant. And I think as this fills out more and more, and this has grown so very well, this just makes such a nice hanging plant. Be it on a shelf, put it in a hanger, put it in a bathroom, wherever it's going to go, this is going to be cute as the dickens. Next one up, I'm definitely going to repot. It's in an even smaller little cup than we've seen so far. I'm very surprised to own this one. One, the price is high, and very high still. And 2, I just didn't think I was going to go for variegated plants this year. And I'm not against variegated plants, though I do make fun of the money that we as a plant community are spending on every little minor variant of a plant. And, you know, the endless hybridization of Hoya and Anthurium. I mean, many of those they all look the same, right? You can't argue with me on that. JK, there go the thumbs down. That's fine. But this is a Matilda, pronounced correctly, variegated. And it's gorgeous. I mean, it is absolutely Gorgeous. So I did a trade for this and some other plants with Kim. I did an Elephant AH027. Two big, beautiful cuttings, one node, two leaves, but like really massive leaves. And she asked me if I had one of these yet, and this was priced at $75. And it is growing. This is a fairly recent purchase, very recent. Not purchase, but trade. And which is a really good price, believe it or not, for this little tiny thing. But she is always so generous on trade, so she threw this in and some other plants, even though I feign that I couldn't possibly. I always, I just ended up with way more value in plants than I gave her, I feel like anyway, but I guess she gets a fair amount of business from Sober Plant Guy, from you guys, so maybe it works out. But it's in this tiny cup. It's going to dry out very quickly. It already dries out pretty quickly. When the furnace comes on, again, it'll probably be in the tent. It'll be in the tent, or it'll be more humid, but still. There's air circulation in there 24 hours a day. Best not risk it with this plant. Lightly rooted, just as I knew it would be, and growing fine, just as I knew it would. So I will put it in this 2.5 pot if that's what I've decided it is, and move on. And what I've done here is I tried to plane it back a little bit, and I wanted to pin the whole thing in there to kind of curl it around. It will not bend enough. I think I would have broken it. I have put a piece of coconut chunk underneath this leaf so it's not sitting directly on the substrate. Less chance of it rotting out. I did get one extra node on there, so potentially it could, grow from there, get a growth point. But at any rate, this will do what it does. Now, I didn't know this, but of course it's variegated, so it shouldn't be a surprise. But Ann had mentioned on this plant too that it has a tendency to revert. I don't have anything invested in it other than growing a plant to trade, but I would be disappointed because that's a gorgeous plant. I don't care who you are. Yesterday was a very fun day for me. I met a lovely couple who watch me here on YouTube, and they went to Crazy Plant Gal for her birthday. So I went up there and ran out of time to actually shop for plants for myself, which there are worse things. I mean, I grabbed a couple and just ran to the car and told Kim, let me know what I owe you. By the time I got there, which was about 10:15, the plants had already been picked out. Now, I imposed my will on 3 that you'll see today, but one of them that she got and I got is this Lacanosa Asami. I had to think about that for a second. Now, it is getting really good light right now. Will this revert? Maybe. I'm not sure. It sure is pretty. I mean, there's not very much that is completely green, and this has grown a ton, and I mean a ton, since I picked this up early this year. If you know me, you know that my success rate with Lacanosa croniana, same thing, has been, 0. I've not kept any alive. The mistakes I've made are growing them like other Hoya. This one I determined to treat like a plant that wants to be kept moist. Not watered when it's approaching dryness or the substrate is completely dry. I keep this one moist. And it has grown a bunch. So I'm really happy with how this is looking. Let's take a quick look at the roots, and then I'll just repot it up off camera real quick. Again, another plant that is growing and growing and growing that is very, very lightly rooted in the pot. I don't know why people keep saying they have to be root bound to grow. 2 things guarantee me getting thumbs down, and that is when I mention the stupidity of the taco test. As general advice, I'll modify it a little bit, even though it's a terrible plan to stress your plant out that much before you decide to water it. And when I talk about a plant does not need to be root bound, which is a terrible thing. Root bound is not a positive thing to be going for. It starves itself of nutrition and hydration, and it's a terrible thing. Though I have proven it on this channel for over a year, well over a year, in 90 videos or 85 videos, whatever it's been, I've shown people plant after plant after plant growing incredibly well with a minor root system. I will still get thumbs down and people telling me I'm wrong in the comments. I don't know what more I can do for someone than show you the pudding and the proof that's in it. All right, real brief one here. I'll repot this one off camera too. This is the Wyetii Lori Lynn, and I know not everybody likes this plant, and I was in that group of people. Then I've seen it in person, and I think it's really pretty. It's the biggest cliche in plantum, is that you're not interested in a plant until you see it in person, or you think it's beautiful and then you see it in person and it's even more beautiful than you could have imagined. The Hoya, I think I pronounced it Hippalasia in the last video. It might actually be Hypalasia. I'm not 100% either way, but and this is one for me anyway. This is another one, and it's variegated. So I would love for this to hold on to the variegation, and I've got its sister plant hanging in the other room, which I had completely forgotten about. So we'll take a real quick look at that one too. From the comments in the last video where I asked for some summer updates, I realize not everyone is in the growing season right now, but for those of us who are, it sounds like by and large people have had a really good season, at least people who chose to share. New blooms on Hoya, first time blooms on any Hoya for some of you, so that's really good news. I had well, an interesting summer for sure, health-wise, and I got COVID for the third time in July, and then a couple weeks ago, and it took me a long time to recover from that, and that's why part of the reason I didn't post and got the new puppy, and that really is a time suck at first. Now she's asleep. I have access to a very large field, so I can run them, and her patterns are much more predictable now that she is 16 weeks, 15, 16 weeks, something like that. This is another plant that Miro just had on his channel, and this is one that I imposed my will on the woman who came to Crazy Plant Gals yesterday for her birthday presents. Trying for a decent angle on this. This is the Irisae, and it is a terrestrial growing plant like your multiflora, but it can get a peduncle on every node on this, and it is a very, to me anyway, a very unique and very beautiful flower. And I have the peduncle there, and I have one, it came with this one. So this plant was this tall when I got it about maybe a month and a half ago. Did it have that peduncle? I don't take pictures. I don't document things. I don't do homework. I think it did come with a peduncle. Anyway, it's put on all of this growth too. I treat this like the multiflora and water it. So this is another one that if it's been dry, it's because it's in a west window, which gets very warm. Well, less so this time of the year, but has gotten very warm and dried it out. But I try not to let that happen. And it has, I would say it's rewarded me. That is a really super fine looking plant. Not maybe the easiest one to find. I'm not sure. I think Crazy Plant Gal's actually going to do some mail order this fall, winter, and she's got a few really very nice examples of this. So we picked one out yesterday that had at least, I think it had one peduncle, just a really nice looking plant. I'm going to gently take this out of this pot. This is a bigger cup, and see what we have. If it's really, really lightly rooted, the substrate will just fall away from the roots. Kind of it did on that Lori Lynn. So we'll see. You know what? We're going to leave it just like this. I think there is enough substrate for now, and I can change my mind, to just leave this one alone. The picture that you are seeing or have seen is from my friend Dixie's plant. And I think it's a better photograph than a lot I'd seen online, but it is a cool plant. It's a, like I said, terrestrial grower. So for people who are getting into Hoya, want something a little off the beaten path, are used to how normal plants, I guess, you know, watering them more often and so forth. And I mean, we worry like crazy to not overwater Hoya. I think you'll find that many of the best growers are watering their Hoya very consistently if they're getting good growth. And it's all about conditions, of course, how much light it's getting, what humidity, how big is the container it's in, what's in that container, and how much root system there is. All of those things play a part. But what I try to do, no matter what I have in here, is to make sure that I can get some synergy between those things, that I can water my plants like normal, and I'm not sitting on my hands waiting for it to stress out and be half dead before I treat it to some hydration. The Hoya Wilbur Graves is yet another one that I was influenced to buy, and I'm really happy to say, one, that this is a very, very fast growing plant, and two, that the variegation appears to be stable. That's just a little tiny leaf, and have I looked at it before I said that? It's got plenty of variegation on it, and then the vine extends to here, so that is 2.5 feet tall. I bought it as, this is not a joke, okay? I bought this as this plant down here. It has grown all of this in a couple of months, maybe 2.5 months. Yeah, 2.5 months. So for a carnosa, well, I have really good luck growing carnosa fast. Some people don't, but you know, with this much variegation, blister variegation, that's gorgeous. That's beautiful. Silver has always been up my alley. It is still up my alley. I don't see that changing. And, you know, it puts out a lot of interesting, it can do half moons. Do I have one? I have some that are almost purely silver, but each leaf is just a little bit different. And, well, I guess you would expect that with any kind of variegation. But really, I find this an interesting plant. This was the second plant that I imposed my will on yesterday. This one is going on a trellis right now. Is it going to go on a horseshoe, or is it going to go on a wire tower trellis? Well, stay tuned. I'm going to think about that for 1 second. This is another one that I took as a fresh cutting, super lightly rooted, growing like crazy. I know that the vast majority of the people on the internet would say not to repot this. It's happy as is. I want it on a trellis. I can't do that in that little pot. And by the time this would be ready, one, it's going to start having very long internodal spacing as it reaches for something to climb, and two, it's going to be too stiff to do it. So I am just going to move boldly forward and kind of hope for the best, knowing that it's probably, almost certainly going to be just fine. Now we're back to how I like to grow plants. So I will be putting this one in the basalt pot, and I'm going to do the optimistic trellis because this plant appears to be a grower. I have done this before and been very disappointed to have a very small plant on a very tall trellis. So my KSB01, before I cut it to make more props, was like that. It looked ridiculous. But I think this one's going to keep going and look great as it fills this up. And maybe I'll do some props this spring to fill it out. Who knows? That's next spring. But right now I'm going back to my traditional mix. I've got a small bowl of nothing but chip and perlite. I'm going to put just a little bit of that at the bottom of this so that when the cocoa coir sifts down, it has somewhere to be distributed rather than just a solid mass. And here we have this rascal all wrapped up, as it were. Take your time when you do this. When you're making these bins, note where the new leaves are, if there is one. like this one. This will correct itself, I would assume. And then know where the nodes are along the vine and make sure you're not pressing it into the metal or that it's in such a proximity to the trellis that it's going to get deformed. That's always disappointing. Not the end of the world. And with some plants that have a ton of foliage, it's kind of inevitable. And you don't want to break the vine, obviously. And so make those bends very gently. Use more clips than you think you need, just so you can secure a part down here so you don't end up folding it, which I almost did. So anybody can do that, but you tell me that this, when it grows up and fills this trellis, and who even cares if it flowers? I might not live long enough. I don't know. I'll give this really good light though. It's a beautiful plant, so I am super excited about this one. Really got my patented mess going on here, and I just love it. I haven't made one of these videos in obviously a very long time. This is an interesting one. This is the GPS 88. Some seller started selling this plant as, I'm stretching, maybe I'll just show you these, as a Hoya. And it's interesting, there are 3 leaves coming out of that node. And I think it was Betsy Begonia who contacted GPS Gerard Paul Shirley and asked him about this. And he had no record of this being sold as a Hoya. It has been flowered. It has been confirmed to be a Discidia. So this is another Discidia that I purchased. I think I've got three or 4. But this is really beautiful. It's got terrific, I'm gonna have to stand up for this. It has really terrific texture. It's deep green and it has lance leaves. Those tick the boxes for me. The third plant that I imposed my will on from my new friends yesterday is also a Discidia and has a more exaggerated version of this with some kind of variegation, not like colorful or anything. We'll get to that in a second. Fastest growing plant in my collection now is that one. So we'll get to that in just a second. And to carry that theme forward with the lance-like leaves, is the P&G checks notes SV443. So Papua New Guinea, and then the name of the nursery is, I will have to put that on the screen. I can't remember off the top of my head. I can't be bothered to go get my Mac where I have all this information looked up and notated for my easy reference. Why would I have that here? Do you see this mess? I'm not bringing my brand new computer in here. I got this one because I kind of wanted a Sulawesiana, and they can be tricky to grow. And Kim had a small one, but if I were going to get one, I think I would get a more mature one. That's one of those rare cases where I think I'd want one that's on its way. I could be wrong. Maybe I would succeed really well with a small one, but I haven't in the past. So I saw this and I said to myself, hey, not bad. This kind of fits the theme. It's not going to, as far as I know, it's not going to give really long lance-like leaves. The next one kind of does, but I think that's really, really pretty. So I am happy with this. Obviously, I'm going to make this into a beautiful trailing plant. If I propagate it, when it's going to be in the spring, I just can't be bothered right now. I got a puppy to raise. Next up is one also going on a trellis. This is Hoya pulchra, and this was found by, Mikel Rada and a whole bunch of explorers, 1,000 feet up in the Philippines. Doug Chamberlain grows his at 55 at night during the winter, 72 for a high. Perfect. So I was really in a mood about these dark green lance leaves, wasn't I? Very pretty, very, very pretty. I bought the plant down here and it has grown these leaves and it has nodes that want to pop, or at least this one does and this one does. So I'm gonna have to be really careful with this one. It's gorgeous. If it were spring right now, I might just in some way support this vine, get those to leaf out, and then chop and prop it. But it is not, and I will not be doing that. Since I will very, very likely chop and prop this, I'm just going to go ahead and grow this up a horseshoe trellis. What I did was one very gentle loop here, secured it up here so that this node was well away from the trellis, and the top part will be able to figure itself out. I can keep an eye on that if I'm on my game. If I'm on my game. Yeah, because this year the game has been A+. A++. The final plant that I gave my strongest recommendation to my friend yesterday was this plant, the Dischidia acutifolia. And well, let's take a look, just one. Let's just look how beautiful this is. Now, my friend got a much less mature version of this that hadn't developed these really beautiful leaves. They're just kind of green. And, you know, I just did one of the, you have to take my word for it that as these grow out, you're going to get these just incredibly, at least in my view, incredibly pretty leaves. I think these are great. What I did not expect, while I bought this with just a little bit of vine, it has grown from probably, I don't know, here it is put on all of this. It had 3 vines wrapped around that carnosa that I showed earlier. It has these 2 vines wrapped around each other. Clear way down here, you probably really won't be able to see that. The flowers are dainty. They're very, very pretty. They're tiny. So I'll put a picture up for you because I had to not only use a macro lens, I just did it on my camera, so maybe it won't be that great, but I also had to then crop that so you could get a better look. So yeah, for the times you're watering this, maybe you want to enjoy the flowers, but I think it's going to be, at least for me, it's going to be because I think this is so, so pretty. This is going straight to an optimistic trellis. It's going to the tower trellis. And I think as this fills that out and it hangs down beautifully and hides a lot of that wire, which is really when those trellises look best, obviously. No, just the bare wire is what looks nice. And if there's a plant on it, that's a bonus. But it happens that way sometimes, that you get the perfect plant that can just hang off of that. And if it grows inside and outside, it doesn't really matter because it's just going to get this nice curtain. And I really feel now that I've had this for a couple of months that that's going to be what this one does. I will get it trellised up and we'll see how it looks. This one is well rooted. No wonder it's thirsty all the time. It's growing in something quite fibrous. I wonder if it's, I think it's tree fern fiber is what I said yesterday. And yeah, I haven't changed my mind. I think that's what it is. But yeah, it looks great. Oh my gosh, I had no idea how many different vines were on this. This must have had 30 to 40 twinings, and it has, I don't know, it is put on 4 or 5 vines. So, gonna look a little wonky right now, but you know, actually not too bad a start. The beauty of trellising really thin-leaved Hoya or Dischidia is that it can be redone. And as the plant fills out with nice leaves, what I tend to do is just lower the vines en masse and have it a nicer looking full trellis. Yeah, this the rate of growth of this is absolutely remarkable, and all I have done is water it quite regularly. Again, or not again, this is in that west window with some other plants. So drying out within 3 days, I would say, in that tiny plastic cup and perhaps tree fern fiber. I just up-potted that, literally just plopped it in this. Used an airier, even airier for me than usual mix, which I've done on a couple of these. I don't make too big a deal about that because this is me specific. I wouldn't, it's not good general advice to grow like I do. I anticipate the worst months we have, the coldest month, the weeks when the furnace won't quite keep up with the temperature. We want to have it on the main floor where most of the plants are that aren't in the tent. So I mean, we're plenty warm in the bedroom. We have an infrared heater and things like that. But at any rate, that's how I do it, and I like to water. I would rather be watering than not. That's my morning meditation. Some people stare at a blank wall for 20 minutes. I water plants. So at any rate, I think good start. A lot of vines. It'll be fun to see where this goes over the next few months and into next year, but I bet this is going to be a knockout. I bet this makes my favorite list as often as the Billabata has. And this one's just show and tell. This is the Hoya Wyetii. I got this one for free, and I like it. I like it a lot. I did part of that elephant trade was this plant. This one was priced at $25, and I said in a Patreon video, would I pay $25 for this plant? Not implying that it's not worth it. It's just I probably would have waited for the Shepherdii, which is what I really wanted, and so does Kim, but she doesn't have any. And this kind of scratches that itch. Although I did find a Shepherdii in pretty nice size and ordered it into the year sale. So I have that coming as well. But I'm going to have a nice little hanging Hoya section, I think. I've already got the bar up, so it shouldn't be too difficult to accomplish it from here. Yeah, I say things like that. I make it sound like it's just going to happen without my assistance. Shouldn't be hard for if someone stops by and does it for me. Now we're moving straight into the what the heck do I do with this part of the video, and then the most expensive plant. Of course, that's going to be the last plant. Maybe I'll note that in text early in the video so that if people want to get bored with me, they can skip to that one. Hugh Cumming was an orchid. Yes, orchid. By the way, friends, if you watched the last video, I know what you did, because I see graphs of where people rewatch parts of the video and where they skip it. And do you know where y'all skipped it? At my 2 orchids. For shame. For shame. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. Hugh Cumming was an explorer for orchid, Hoya, and perhaps many other things. This is the Camungiana. Now, you will most often hear this pronounced Camungiana. It's a hard G because you are, in theory, supposed to pronounce it as closely to the person it's named after as possible. I wanted one of these. This was the day I did some work for Kim. I wanted one, good one. And she said, well, take 2. No, take 3. Take 5. So I have all of these that are just going gangbusters. Really, really doing well. Have put on loads of growth. As I was talking to my friend that I met up there yesterday, the thing about this plant is if you decide to grow it trailing, and Doug Chamberlain would think you've basically lost your mind if you do that, these leaves will always be upside down. This will in no way self-correct, and you'll have the good side of the leaf up. So it's always going to look like that. Now maybe you don't care, and especially if it was hanging above you, you know, maybe that would be an attribute. I don't know. Doug Chamberlain, he probably got rid of it because it was so big, had a true, I mean, we throw around the term specimen size. It was, I think, 6.5 feet tall, huge. He had a smaller one that he would decorate up like a Christmas tree. This is Doug Chamberlain's favorite Hoya. This one right here that I have all of this collection of. Now, maybe you had to see it in person. The one that was 6.5 feet, I don't know, it didn't look that great to me, but you will notice a theme that I keep a lot of my Hoya on the smaller side. Even before I took so many cuttings last year and was propagating and selling them and stuff, I do tend to like them better, smaller. I mean, many of them, not all of them. But do I put this on, will it work on a wire trellis, or should I just do a double horseshoe? I am going to take a peek at a couple of options, see where my battery's at so I don't accidentally lose this video footage. It's just hilarious when that happens. Oh, when it doesn't save, can't beat it. I think it's gonna be a double horseshoe. And I didn't mention it before, but what I have done is taken rubber cement and been sure to daub up the bottom of these because it'll wick moisture up, and then taken it up here, I was an English major at the University of Iowa back when that was really something. At any rate, I coated it with rubber cement up to about here so it'd be out of the pot. These will rot, and they rot, in my experience, fairly quickly, and I'm not using a substrate that stays wet very long, so time will tell how it works. I did that this morning and smells dry. It's always going to be tacky because it's rubber cement. And if you go to buy rubber cement, bring your ID because you will need it. Or I just have that look like I'm going to do something nefarious with it. So I will tie the top of that cross with a piece of twine just to make it a little sturdier. It really does when you do a double. Oh, and I'm using one of these Italian pots from Lowe's. 5 3/4 basically. So it looks like a really big pot. I'm going from these. They might be lightly rooted. Listen, caution to the wind. I use an area enough substrate that I can get away with this. Someone who uses a dense substrate will almost certainly kill plants like you saw me repot earlier today. It's all about how we do it, not how anybody else does it. And I've spent a lot of time with a lot of plants to kind of know what will and will not work. Like that irisae. That was one, just leave it alone. The most expensive plant I've ever purchased, leaving it alone, because I know that was a very, very lightly rooted cutting. Wait till you see how well that one is growing. But let me get this one done up, and then I'll join you in a moment to show you how it turned out. Actually, while I fill this up, I just want to thank you. I got so many notes of concern and just really warm thoughts, and I can't tell you how much it meant. It's not that I did not want to make videos. I was really struggling with long COVID, and I got physically healthier well, until I got COVID again and norovirus and passed out in the bathroom twice. That was great. Oh, that was just great. But I lost mental acuity, so I gained something and I lost something. And, you know, it's a balancing act to try to figure out how to navigate, that's for sure. And I was especially surprised. I looked at my statistics for the first time in months. I have gained a ton of viewers in the 35 to 44 range, which used to be a minuscule part of my viewership. And well, one, thank you for being here. Sometimes I'm dangerously close to actually getting good information out. And then two, what is wrong with y'all? Why are you tuning in to watch this old guy in his plant? All right, as and when these grow taller, I will pin them to the horseshoe trellis. So I don't think I'm going to try to grow it up through the middle, but it just occurred to me, why couldn't you do that? Wow, mind blown. But I'm excited about this. I think one of the other plants I bought is also a second favorite of Doug's, and I will be damned if I can remember what that is. I guess that's for the next time I run across it. Maybe I noted it on the computer and we've already discussed it. I'm not going to get it. Straightened up just a little bit for the last one because it deserves, I don't know, some fanfare. Just real quick, I water the plants, especially the ones that I've used my normal mix in, very, very thoroughly. The cocoa coir I just buffered recently and it was moistish. The cocoa chips, however, I buffered and kept out in the sun and stirred a big Sterilite container until it was really dry. Those are absolutely bone dry. So they either have to be soaked or just watered in very thoroughly. I will be at the sink, so it's going to be easy for me to just flood it and keep it going. So that's how I do that. Perhaps you spotted it already, but the ultra splurge of the year was a latifolia silver. And Kim had, and probably has, several of these. This one was a 2-leaf cutting with a leaf starting, barely rooted. I mean, fresh. And again, you know, Hoya will not grow until the roots snug as a bug in a rug. Dial back the snark. It's only your second video back, David. It took a little while to get these leaves going. The vine came on very quickly. And we have this pair, and then we have a node here that wants to grow, and then this one's just brand new. Sorry for the shaky hand. Beautiful plant. Beautiful plant. And I figured this was, with the 3 leaves, one starting, it was $125, which is an exorbitant amount of money. I know who I'm buying it from. I know I want to support her. I mean, I buy all my plants from her practically. And I knew I could make my money back if I wanted to. Hers have grown. I should have put this in the tent. I was just kind of afraid. I want to blast it with H2O2 a few times and clean it out and stuff. But Kim's have been growing in the warmth and the Iowa summer humidity and have gone berserk. Mine has just been growing in ambient conditions, which meant a lot of air conditioning this summer. It got really, for us, well, no, Iowa gets extremely hot. The humidity was okay-ish. Could be better, could be worse. We have now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 nodes on this plant. And, you know, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 sets coming out. We've got a single, we've got double, single, double, to be determined. But they're slow. When they come out, you'll think, oh gosh, you know, it's as big as it's going to get, and then it kind of keeps going. But very pretty plant. Again, a real splurge item, but I think I had some extra spend from something. I don't even remember what it was, but I did. So at any rate, there is the most expensive Hoya I've ever purchased. It's growing well, and I love it. I keep it on the plant porch, which more accurately now is probably the puppy porch, because I put a gate up and I get to see it all the time. I love it. Well, friends, this is the second video of the summer, and unquestionably it will be the last, because we have fall starting Monday. More importantly, my wife's birthday, and I probably should have remembered that before today, Friday. Oh boy. See you in the next one, okay?